Hello, Stephanie. Welcome, welcome, welcome to your reading. Thank you for your patience. It's been an absolutely wild time. Long wait list, a lot of live sessions also. So yeah, let me just make sure that everything is connected well because to my amazement, where I live is the best Wi-Fi in the world in Romania. It's like the fastest Wi-Fi in the world. But somehow my Wi-Fi that was working perfectly beforehand when I came back from America just stopped working with this computer. So I have to use my hotspot on my phone until we figure something out. But it's fine. All right. Let's okay, timer good. Let's test the audio just to make sure. Test, 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 test. Okay, that's good. Ooh, didn't hide your identity. We'll just do Stephanie, just because it's a very common name. Okay, so let's share the screen. So I know you are friends with my mom, which is awesome. So let's take a look and see what I can derive. All right, Walnut Creek. So we have a Virgo rising right on my mom's sun. I don't know much about your guys' relationship, if you guys are like super close or not. But I do know that you guys, just based on what I'm seeing now, like there's a lot of commonalities between your chart and my mom's chart. And I would definitely see you guys being friends. Like there's like like everything is like very matched up. Like not matched up, but like very in sync. Um, you're Leo Mars, she's Leo Moon. Your moon's in Pisces, her Mars is in Pisces. Um, your ascendant's Virgo, her sun is like right on your ascendant in Virgo. And then your Capricorn, she's a Virgo, Earth, Earth. Um, so yeah. Um, and then yeah. Anyways, okay, so I don't know how much you know about astrology. But let's just get down to the business. So what's most important? Obviously, we live in a world where astrology has been ridiculed, ridiculed by the stupid horoscopes of, oh, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Virgo, I'm a Pisces, and making it seem like astrology is saying there's 12 types of people. It couldn't be any further from the truth. So this is your natal chart, as I've said. This is a representation of what the sky was like at the moment of your birth from Walnut Creek, um, at that exact time, exact moment, and exact date. Now let me go back into my emails just to make sure that there's no errors. So this is you. She said approximately 9:30. Okay. And um, in American, it's month, date. I think I checked with you. I need to because you did DM me answer yet. Where are you? Let me find you real quick. One second. I'm searching. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, I accidentally opened a message. Okay, so here you are. This is you. Because I have different Stephanies. Yeah, okay, so looking good. Okay, I'm gonna say, hey, doing it now. Okay, so you did confirm date, so everything is good. All right, very good, very good, very good. Very, very good. Oh gosh, so many messages to respond to. It is ridiculous. I need like probably literally 8 hours. Not, and that's not even like respond, like just of like okay. Right, otherwise, yeah. The charge, okay, so let's move the charger. The phone, I have to have like my phone open, like the screen on or the hotspot. Like, guys, it's pretty awesome. Not. So, anyways, everything's correct. Just wanted to kind of verify that. Hey, Mika. So in astrology, here's Mika. Who actually your Pisces moon. Mika has her Venus on your Pisces on your moon. So in astrology, basically, very, very obvious. So I'm a karmic astrologer, and you have wow, North Node and Pluto together. And Mika will be blocking me. Mika, I can literally can't see the chart. Damn it, lap. So I look at a lot, right? Um, First thing, for the direction I'm gonna go with this is I'm gonna go with the two most important parts of the chart, which are the sun and the moon, right? Um, Everyone knows their sun sign. Everyone knows the qualities inherent in their sun sign. You being a Capricorn, um, 22 degrees, wow. And your moon is in Pisces, so you actually have what's called moon sextile sun. You can see that they're separated by not exactly 60 degrees, but close to it, right? So typically that indicates that the parent, from my, I literally just like spoke to a client last night who had this, and her parents were still together and had like, good relationship or whatever. But it typically indicates that there's a shared worldview between the two parents, right? There's not this like big difference, um, which can be very difficult, right? Um, like I have that with my chart. I have sun, square, moon. My mom, my dad are like literally like, you can, I don't know how you can find two people as different. So psychologically, what happens, with that is that there is a sort of like a nice interplay. And by the way, you have my favorite human, like famous human in the world, Armin van Buuren. He's a musician, DJ. He is an amazing human being, but he's like my favorite, literally my favorite famous person. The only person that I would like pay a lot of money just to talk to for a few minutes. I'm not like a big famous person. He's the only person that I would get like starstruck, um, like being able to like hang out with. But yeah, like he is exactly what you are, a Capricorn sun, um, and Pisces moon. So how those work together? So first of all, I mentioned the thing about kind of a smooth, like a similar energy from one parent. The worldviews of the parents being somewhat similar, so you're not like um having these two different parts that are conflicting, which can lead to like a psychological split in the chart. So Pisces and Capricorn is like, I literally, like, I'm not just saying this, I'm very honest with my reading, so there might be parts where I'm not gonna tell, like, I'm not the astrologer that's just like, oh, everything's perfect. Like I give, and also another thing to know about astrology. Here's another one of the cats, Esme. I just will show you a little baby. Esme, show your face, you little angel baby. Um, that everything in astrology is not like, yes, there's a certain level of fate that exists, of course, but I try to encourage my clients to not allow anything to give them self-limiting beliefs, to give them, you know, ideas. Um, Everything is a probability. It's like, this is your deck of cards that you're dealt. So someone could be born the same day as you, same location, and be way different, right? And that's because they're first of all, they're a different soul. Second of all, their conditioning would have been different in terms of like who they grew up with, their family, karma, and all that. And yeah, just like, yeah, the biggest thing is like the application of free will, because everything in your chart has a high, low, and medium, and everything in between manifestation, right? So I just want to put that out there, that astrology is the interplay of free will and fate, and that understanding your birth chart is extremely powerful, because you for many reasons, but for one, you can understand who you are, but also who you are not. And the way I do it is that I talk a lot about karmic purpose, and I talk a lot about um, different themes that are showing up, that, like, the way I view things through the lens of reincarnation, that we come here, or here, or wherever, we incarnate, let's just say. Our soul is at different levels, and each incarnation we're working on a certain set of karma, right? And we have different karmic goals. So I'm very big picture in that respect. Now, with that said, Sun in Capricorn, as you know, it's also in the fifth house. It is Square Pluto. Wow. Okay. And then the moon is square Neptune. And Venus. Oh yeah, Venus square Pluto. I have that too. So I can speak to that very, very from experience. And I know so many people, friends and clients who have that. So, and then Chiron square Mars. Those are your hardest aspects. Okay. Or most difficult, most challenging, but there's no such thing as good or bad in astrology, right? There's no such thing. No, and Neptune square ascendant. Ooh, is that even how many degrees is that away? 1.11. Okay. So basically, and I like to go back and forth between share mode and showing my face in my dark red room. I chose red today. Um, so basically, you have what I consider one of the most beautiful sun moon combinations, because Capricorn, as you know, is the go-getter. It is, especially with 22 degrees is the degree of your Capricorn sun, and that is um, usually someone who had to, at some level, and you have Neptune on the IC, at some level, accept responsibilities early on. The first 30 years of their life were very, very much ruled. Let's see what Saturn doing anything. No, not really. But yeah, like just being a Capricorn, Venus and Sun, fate playing a large, large role. And there can be a frustrating feeling in those first 30 years, but it's not there's not like so many other Saturn aspects or Saturnian like difficult Saturn placements that would make that harder. It's just that you're Capricorn, so which is ruled by Saturn. But basically, yeah, the first 30 years till your Saturn return, 29 and a half, there's setbacks, restrictions, being a Virgo ascendant with the Capricorn and the Pisces moon can make one very, very hard on themselves. And yeah, it can take some time to really grow into your being, right? Or it could have really taken you some time. Now, with that said, having Venus on your sun, conjunct your sun. So at the moment of your birth, the beautiful planet of Venus was right 2 degrees away from your sun. So that is an amazing aspect. Very few have it. And well, not very few, but I don't see it too much. Although like the maximum amount that Venus moves away from the sun is 48 degrees on either side. Um, but still, still. Um, so so Capricorns can be a little bit cold. The sun in Capricorn can be a little bit cold. Um, very business oriented, very resilient, get the job done, all this and that. And but with Venus, it adds kind of like a gentle energy, right, to your sun. So it will take away a lot of that really serious, like yes, you will be a very serious and responsible individual, with like that authority, that strong sense of doing things the right way. Um, and the great thing about Capricorns is that they're reliable and you can rely on them to they can be relied on to, whether it's for themselves or for just in any area of life, to move slowly but surely towards different goals. They have that consistency. They have that built in. You have that built in groundedness. Now it's gonna be very interesting when I talk about Pisces, right? So think of it like a rock. It makes someone like rock solid. And everything gets better as you grow older. You get more respect. Um, and yeah, very ambitious. So yeah, essentially with that and being ascendant in Virgo, you have to really be careful for overworking, right? Um, and with Pluto and North Node in the second house, and I think did you get the reading with, I think you just got the, let me check. I think did you get the reading and the follow-up? Most people get reading and follow. Okay, you got just the reading. So, you can decide, but I would highly suggest, like, and you'll see after how you feel. Most people, what they do with me is that they get this reading, and then, um, they usually get the reading and follow-up. Um, you got just the reading. But what most people do is that they have the follow up and they add the current astrology to the follow up, and that's a live reading. So instead, and it's not a long wait like this. Like basically, it's like you take this in. Most people have to or want to and just really feel like watching, like really letting this set in and watching it a number of times, taking notes, whatever. And then if you feel called, we could set up a Zoom session where we'll first hour is the follow up where we go over everything in the natal chart, just this part of astrology, right, which is like the part that never changes. See how it compares to your lived experience, blah blah blah, and then move seamlessly to the current astrology, right? Like basically like your energetic forecast for like the year ahead, kind of, right? Like where you're at. For example, you would have just had Neptune conjunct the moon or transit over your moon in the last few years, which would have really opened you up to spirituality. But there's a lot more than just that. But it would have, yeah, it could also have caused some confusion. But um, I go into a lot of different predictive techniques, but I call it current astrology / spiritual alignment, because ultimately by the end of that reading, the person's very clear on their, like, their direction, their life direction, and yeah. So usually like the price to add those two is I think like 530 or something. 150. Yeah. Yeah. But I would be happy to do it for, it's usually 380 for the current. I'd be happy to do that for 250. And um for the follow-up, I'd be happy to do it for um 100, but it would, like, yeah, that's like not counting like the fees that are charged, which now that I use Stripe are a little bit less. But basically 350. So near, yeah, so over like 200, or like close to $200 off. Um so let me know. But don't think about that now, just take in the reading and see how you feel. But anyways, so yeah, a big thing there is like perfectionism and having to like the whole 100 or 0 energy, right? Um, a lot of people with this, they will, and this is, we'll get into like how the Pisces moon helps you so much. They Virgo ascendant in the Capricorn energy, like they have very high expectations of themselves. And with the Sun square Pluto, that's a really tough aspect. It can really have been hard to, like, it makes someone very powerful, very good at like rising to challenges. But it can make them also like very kind of, it can make it difficult to control emotions and passions. Um, but yeah, so there's like a big need to learn to compromise. A lot of times that comes, the Sun is the father, so that will come from some dynamic in that relationship. Um, But overall, yeah, a lot of times, it could be something, it just makes someone quite intense, where they're early on, they can experience lots of ego conflicts, power struggles. Um so yeah, they're pushed towards this like transformation, um and a higher level of consciousness. But until they have that more relaxed attitude, it kind of creates like lots of journeys into the underworld metaphorically. Um, and it comes down to like a need for controlling, right? So a lot of people with this who are like unevolved, they'll like have that need to control other people, right? Um, and a lot of issues with letting go, which can come from, yeah, a parental relationship, that maybe was like quite strict, quite, maybe kind of like push that perfectionism even further. But it's really, really good for being channeled into like this hard work and determination for major success. Like, so it's very ambitious, but sometimes people with this will do whatever it takes, to get to the top. But that's when your moon, so sun and moon, it's like the yin and yang, right? Moon in Pisces is the most empathetic, mystical, just it really, really works beautifully with Capricorn, because Capricorn's, like I said, it's hard. It's about success. It's like, it's rock. It's solid. It's quite masculine. Um, Pisces is very gentle, and that's your moon. So that's like what rule. That's like kind of the undercurrent, right? That's the moon is your emotions. It's your instincts. It's your internal environment. It's how you live within yourself, right? Like, think of like, metaphorically speaking, you being a Pisces, you'll understand my way of speaking in metaphors. Like, kind of how we each live within ourselves, right? To an extent, we have like a kind of inner environment. So the moon in Pisces person combined with the sun in Capricorn have the ability to, because like the thing about Pisces is that they can be very, 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 um like, they can have all the best ideas, like, oh my god, I could do this, I could do that, and but then when it comes to like the implementation, that's where it's difficult. But that is actually, where the Capricorn's master. That's like why Armin, my Armin Buren, my favorite musician, favorite person, he has been able to take a very dreamy. Pisces is really about like the dream. Like, it's very linked to like high spirituality, high mysticism, but also it can be very, very self. It can make people kind of self delusionary, right? That's a word in English. Too many languages in my brain. Forget English sometimes, but uh, like, they can almost, so the combination gives like, on one end, this very like the ability to have these amazing like like ideas and like this inspiration, also this empathy, care for other people. um it's really, really just like I have never met a Pisces moon, female at least, who's been like what I a bad person, right? I've just never, it just hasn't happened. Because you are a sponge for energy, right? So that's good and bad, right? Turn this off. Lights on. So when you're a sponge for energy, so this is what's very interesting and why I love this combo so much, is that someone who has a lot of Pisces, right? It's the last sign. They can be the type of person that gives, 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 gives. And there's one of my teachers, Indian holy lady. She told me something. I always butcher quotes, but it was the tree that is most picked on ends up with the less leaf, something like that. Basically, um, or the tree that allows itself to be, um, you know, picked the most ends up with the less leaves. So it kind of speaks to that energy, right? And that need for boundaries that Pisces, of someone not like you, but who just like, let's say your sun and your moon were in Pisces. Pisces lack boundaries, and they take in on the moon lunar level, they take in so much of the energy around them, right? So that's why there's a huge need for Pisces moons to have alone time within their relationships. They need to have their alone time, right? And being by water, baths, living by the water, which I think you do. I don't know. I try not to know anything about my clients. I like that's my thing. That's what I do is I want to know nothing. The only thing I asked my mom was like, is this Stephanie the one that is your friend? Um, but yeah, living by water is really really good for water moons. They feel more in touch with their kind of essence, and things just come through more clearly, right? And they even receive like intuitive downloads, right? So you're super intuitive, right? So back to the combination, Capricorn, strong, solid, able to like take the Piscean inspiration and ideas that might be very, very dreamy, otherworldly, and turn them into physical manifestation, right? Like Armin, his music is trance, and it's very, very ethereal, and but like he as a Capricorn has been able to build like a massive brand that's very, very it's like a mix. It's super successful financially and all that, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is very much for the people. And you feel that, right? It's very, very much like rooted in love and compassion. So yeah, that's yeah. So it's like having the ability to, this is not alcohol just in case you're wondering, kombucha. It's having the ability to at the same time dream anything, but then manifest your dreams. Um, Now going back to boundaries, right? So like kind of what I was saying is that Capricorn is the sign that rules boundaries. Saturn rules boundaries. So a very Capricornian person in converse would be someone who would be able to have super strong boundaries, right? Like someone kind of does something the wrong way, um, like kind of the energy vampire types, the very Capricorn person is just like cuts it off right away, right? So you having both gives you the ability to kind of pick and choose who you want to let in, and then have the ability to not be a pushover. Does that make sense? So yeah. So I love when I see a fifth house Capricorn, because and then you're okay, okay. You have the Gemini on the midheaven. So I don't make predictions here. Everything is a possibility. But I wouldn't be surprised if you were someone who had multiple careers, maybe at multiple times, or maybe um basically the goal is, with a fifth house sun in Capricorn, right? Is to turn your passions, the things you literally do for fun, your hobbies, right? Into what can sustain you, Like like let's say you love making, I don't know, jewelry, or you love painting, or you no uh maybe, yeah, maybe you love psychology, or maybe whatever it is, maybe it's something spiritual, I don't know. uh Someone with this chart would be able to have like, but let's say that you're like a lawyer, a doctor, or something like that, or business person, real estate person. They would be able to have like the passion that they slowly build up over time, until that can kind of be like the money maker, or the thing that sustains them, but still have that other, the other like very Capricornian in this world thing going on, because Capricorns want power. It's just how it is, and it's part, and there's no shame in it. It's just like about not abusing it, and we'll get into that with your Pluto in the second and the North Node, because you're gonna be like, holy shit. Um, so hmm. So yeah, I think with fifth house Sun, and this could be a challenge because like as a Virgo rising, right? So your ascendant is kind of like how you appear to others. It's like your personality. Think of it like a shell, the outside of an egg. The shell is the ascendant, the mask you wear, your personality. The white is the sun. The yolk, the core is the moon. So, yeah, like it's really, really important to, hold on. It's very, very, very important to understand that. And yeah, just in general, like a fifth house sun needs to like they can't just be like overworking, you know? They like relationships are a huge part of your life, right? Karmically and just in general. And that's shown by your moon being right on the descendant, which is the seventh house cusp, right? So there's a potential for codependency here, but I'm gonna get to this because I don't see this necessarily playing out. I'll tell you why. But basically, seventh house moons, a lot of times they get like they put a lot of time and energy and like relationships and how well the relationship's doing, blah blah blah, can really dominate their life, in terms of like how they're doing, like they might answer that question of how they're doing based on how well their relationship's doing, or sorry, I have to like order food because I ran out of groceries, and yeah, yeah, but I just ordered the same restaurant. It's this vegetarian place. I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't like to eat meat that much. Not like the biggest fan. I mean, I like chicken, but hold on. I think, is that a good order? Burger, Cruz, chili, soup. Okay, and I need to get my kombucha because they're the only ones that make it, but did they charge me for it last night? That's the big question because they didn't bring it to me. Kombucha ku diye dash kombucha ku hudibashunda. I just speak myself in Romanian. I need to make sure that they didn't charge me. Oh, they did. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. I'm sorry. Just need to. Okay. Okay. So yeah, moon in the seventh house, sometimes there can be like too much of a dependence on your emotional well-being from relationships. And it isn't easy for a seventh house moon person to be single. They're often, very relationship oriented, and very sensitive to the feelings of their partners. So that's like when I speak about you needing space, and it's very important, uh, if you are married. I don't know if you are. Um, like I said, I know nothing about you. Um, it's very important that you are that there's like an open line of communication around how, like, a Pisces moon is up. I'm not gonna cuss. I have respect for my mother and for you. Um, but basically, like, a Pisces moon is a gem, but get they need that alone time to kind of process things, right? If they don't get it, they it can just be difficult, you know. Um, and they can get cranky, and they can start to really take on a lot of emotions that aren't theirs. So this is very interesting because it relates to your mother. As a Pisces moon square Neptune, and the amount of times that I've told this to a client, and that, like, like, I don't know what you know about me, but I taught myself astrology. I never took a course ever. I taught myself astrology. I learned really fast, and whatever I like. I mean, if I put my mind to something, I can learn it like extremely fast, right? But astrology was like even more than like the usual, right? And I can only do it when I'm teaching myself. It's really weird. Um, but basically, like, so like I have my own way of doing astrology. Um, so it's not like it's basically it's not necessarily what you'd hear from someone who just got everything out of a textbook. Like, sure, I've read textbooks, but at the end of the day, I've had so many clients that speaking to them and like the follow-ups and whatnot, that's how I've learned a lot, right? But the amount of people, yeah, let me see. Thank you. Okay. Wow, so they did not refund me, but they just did. That's crazy. Always check your stuff. So I'm just getting this thing called human design, kind of like astrology, but different. Um, I just want to see. Yeah, you're pure January, so you're like me. So wow, your chart is very defined. Interesting. Um, wow, 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 wow. So basically, you have what I have, which is well, actually, it's not. Well, yeah, they're connected. Yeah. So, well, you have a lot of defined centers. So, you have a lot of fixed energy, right? Like, you have a will, defined will. So like when you put your mind to something in very Capricornian fashion, like if you're like, I'm gonna start running, like you're gonna be able to continue to do it. And only like I think 2 out of 10 people have that, right? Um, but the most important thing is that you have let me finish this freaking order. Too much money. Way too visualizers. I always order too much food. Get this. I will order. Yeah. So basically, like what I tell people who are generators is that they need to really feel into, like, basically, so you need to have like your, whoever it is that's close to you ask you yes or no questions, right? Simple as that. You will know the answer, like it will only come one time within your gut, right? Um, and basically, like, society was created, the just do it kind of mentality was created for like 8% of people, which are manifestors, right? This is not astrology, but it's similar. Um, so for generators, it's really important to allow, um, not be complacent, but not push things too much, to allow, like, because what happens when you need to allow the right things to come to you, right? Um, and you'll know. So for I'll give you an example. I was like really like obsessed. Like I need to buy this car. I went to get it or to check it out, and I was with my girlfriend, and I was like, okay, like right, I have lots of fire in my chart, so I was like, okay, draw the paper up now. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And he was, the guy was really cool. Unlike the people in America, the salesmen you would meet in the U.S., right? Um, but there's a lot of bad ones out here too. But yeah, just kind of saying that you know he was like, it can't really happen today, but everything will be good for tomorrow, right? Essentially. So I was like, all right, cool. So I walked back because it's pretty close to my house. And my girlfriend asked me without even knowing that this was like, in my human design, if she was like, because I was feeling internally kind of weird about it, but I couldn't put it into words. And she asked me, are you sure this is what you want? Are you sure you really need this? You really, really want this car right now? And just by her asking, I just said no, right? It just but it took that yes or no question for me to be able to get there. Um, so the moral of the story is that it's important for you to not push, 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 and to kind of have that trust of the divine to allow things to come to you, and then to accept the right invitations in all areas of life, right? Um, and a lot of people might get that message mixed up with complacency, right? But I think, it, like, that's a really good example, or another really good example here. I'm trying to give you these examples from my life because you can apply it to yours, right? Um, it's basically so with my practice, like I kind of like I've been working my ass off, like all last year. All I did was work. Like I just went crazy. Um, and I finally started seeing success, like real success, around um, like I don't know if it was like February-ish, and then by April, like every month, I was like kind of like getting a little, like getting more clients, more money, like it was just like growing steadily, right? And then it got to this year. I went to America, which completely screwed up my momentum. And it was February 7th. I had a client follow up who's not my friend, who's into human design. And like I was very frustrated because I hadn't gotten one website. Like I'd gotten like readings that month, but they were all from like existing clients. Like like the last 2 months had been like a struggle for like it was like the first January was like the first month in like a close to a year that I didn't beat my, what I did what I did the prior month, or just in general. So February, it's like February 7th. I'm like, there's such a weird energy around what's happening. I don't get it. Like I used to just like wake up and be like order, 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 order. And she told me, you could post. This has to do with like the whole pushing thing, right? She's like, you could like literally push and push and push and do as many, ads, right? Like Instagram ads as you want. But it's not gonna affect your level of success. Like things will come when they come. And I realized, because until that point, I was, each time I got a new reading, I would add it to like my tally for that month, and I'm very competitive with myself, right? So like, let's say like I get like a new reading, not like right away, but like, yeah, I enter it in March, like, like let's say like 28, and then this much money, and I'm kind of like trying to beat my last month, right? But in astrology, you can't control that, right? So this is the magic of it all. That day, I decided, you know what? She's right. Like, I need to just like so many things have added up in my life. Right now. I don't get calls. Oh, one sec. Sorry, I keep. One sec. It's like someone who never messages me. Okay, sorry. Hold on. Let me see. Um. So yeah, basically, like it was like when I decided that I was I was like, okay, from now on, from this point forward, I'm not, each time I get like a sale or whatever, I'm obviously like, I'm organized, so like I'm gonna, like I have like the whole document and all that. Um, but I'm not gonna add it to a tally, you know? I'm just not going to. And that day, or the days that preceded that, out of nowhere, right? I just got order after order after order after order. It was fucking crazy. Excuse me. It was crazy. Like it was like, whoa, this is big, a major synchronicity. Like this is not just random. This is the divine, whatever you want to call it, God, as I call it, just really showing me something about that, right? So it's important, like, because I was pushing so hard, you know. Um, But when I decided to kind of let go and just trust that everything would be okay, things were fine. So yeah, just kind of wanted to give you that different approach. But back to what I was saying before, um, Moon in Pisces, you super sensitive child, super sensitive human, and you square Neptune would make it so people who have that tend to take on a lot of their mother's emotional shit, as I say, call it, emotional, whether it's shame, whether it's whatever it is, right? They take it on. And I think someone just tried to call me. Wait, yesterday. Like my phone doesn't work, but it works, but like I don't get calls. Like just like normal calls, like WhatsApp is what I use for everything, but for some reason like the calls, like if like the food delivery person calls me, like I won't see it. Really weird. But anyways, so yeah, people, and I've tested this a million times. They always are like, yeah, it was when I got to a certain age that I realized that I was hanging on to an emotion that wasn't mine, and I had to let it go because I realized that that wasn't my shame. That was my mother's shame. You know, that wasn't my guilt. That wasn't my unhappiness. Right. So it's really breaking this kind of generational, not curse, but, you know, another thing about Moon square Neptune is that it's a lot easier. It's a difficult aspect, one of the most difficult, but it's a lot easier as a Pisces moon. Because Pisces is the planet, there's a sign that's ruled by Neptune. So it can make it really difficult for a Pisces moon in general to define themselves. Like lots of battles they have to overcome to feel strong and confident about themselves. Because they are so caring and sensitive, they can, like I was talking about before, like the boundaries thing, fall victim to injustices and disappointments and things that kind of erode their self-esteem and confidence. It can make them like very kind of confused, So that's why a lot of them, it's kind of like the mystic, um, the quote, like the mystic and the drug addict, exist in the same waters. The mystic just learns to swim, and the drug addict sinks. So, yeah, a lot of people with this, like they can struggle with understanding their own emotions, right? But spirituality, which like high Pisces is high spirituality, high compassion, high service. There's a real emotional need to be of service in some type of way, right? To help people. Um, so so one of the best ways to deal with this is to be of service and to fight for like a cause you really believe in, or social issues, whatever, joining an organization. Um, so also for your physical health, improving inner strength and removing self-doubt is very crucial, right? Um, because people with this, they can be more susceptible to, things like misdiagnosis, um, different infections, uh, yeah, just general health related things. So there's like a lot of extra care that's required around, medicine, even water, but and especially drugs and alcohol too. But the fact that you have a very defined spleen in human design, see, I'm kind of merging these two, um, will actually push some of that away. I also have a defined spleen, and I never get sick. So people with defined spleens, like they tend to kind of be strong like that. But then you have this, So, um, and at its highest, it's amazing for music. Just having like just really like Pisces. You have to understand, it's like the energy of like it's so artistic and imaginative. It's the dreamer, right? So to have the sun as like the business woman or man, like the achiever, like the person that never gives up, that just very in the material world, and the moon, the other part of you, very much in the spiritual kind of esoteric spiritual world or emotional world. It's a very nice combo because they can play off each other very well, right? So yeah, with this aspect, like interest in all things spiritual is very very common, and very very, very like astrology, for example. Um, but not, it could be anything in this metaphysical world. But some people, kind of hide themselves, hold themselves back from it, right? Because of the conditioning, because of how it's viewed, and blah blah blah. And I don't know if you've had a reading done before, um, but yeah, and you have a lot. Oh, you have 12th house. Okay, so it's interesting. It's interesting that so going back to what I was saying before, that same energy, right, of the Neptune moon, um like defining yourself on an emotional level can be difficult. Seeing your emotions, so you have to really take your time to kind of like feel, if, like, going back to human design, like feel if that was the proper, um like, let's say, job opportunity, or like someone asks you to be their, to go to be to be their significant other, or just like any kind of opportunity, you have to really really take your time and feel into it, and feel that gut, and you'll get it one time really sharp. It'll be a really sharp yes or no, and it's only about you. It can't be like about like another person. It's only like for you in your life, right? And it's yes or no. So I have people ask you yes or no questions, and just with whatever comes out, you'll feel it in your whole body, right? And it's like a double because you have the spleen and the sacral, like I do. Um, so yeah, that's guiding, and it's difficult for people who have that, because they, like, society wants us to push push push, but really it's like teaching us about patience and about understanding that we will be rewarded when we allow things to come to us. Now, speaking about allowing things to come to us, you have Venus, like I said, on your sun. So that is very nice, especially in Capricorn, which it's very gentle, loving, and charming, affectionate, very good for like social life, being able to like enjoy the comfort of other people around you, a love of art, of beauty, of all the nice things, and it's really good for money too. um and yeah, it kind of smooths out the sometimes cold Capricorn sun. Now it's in the fifth house, so once again, this is another placement of someone who, you know um might, who wants to express themselves creatively, and who wants to have fun, you know and also it's amazing for children. And if you have children, your children would be like with the sun and the Venus there, like that's such great energy, and they would be like a very important part of your life, and you really enjoy their company, and learn a lot from them. Where's your Chiron? Let's see if your Chiron matches up with what I'm saying. And that would be like if your Chiron's in Leo, if your Chiron's in a fire sign. Um, yeah, let's see. Um, where are you? It's hiding. I was gonna say Taurus. Oh God, see, that right there is a perfect example. My gut was like, add Taurus. I didn't do it, and now you have the choice to believe me or not. Whether in my head I was like Leo, Aries, like fire. I just sense Taurus, but there's no real reason. Yeah, so it's in Taurus. God, that happens to me so much, especially for sports. Like, I'll know what team's gonna win, and that will be my first instinct. But then I'll change my mind, and then I would like my first instinct was right. Anyways, but we'll get into that a little bit. So, um, you understand kind of the general energy here about how these two can play with each other very well. But like it's very important, your environment, who you're in a relationship with, having communication around the need for space, the need for your alone time, because that is where you receive the download. But then the fact that's in the 7th house, it's like, yeah, like potential for codependency, right? But I'm going to talk about what I was going to say earlier now. So your North Node, I base my readings off North Node and Pluto, large part, right? Like, because I'm a karmic astrologer. And basically, the North Node is, think of it like there's a South Node and a North Node. I'll show you. Damn, already an hour. Holy shit. So South Node is here, North Node is here. They're opposite points. They're not actual planets. The South Node represents the been there, done that in past lives, right? So it's not a bad thing. It's just like, imagine that you've had a lot of past lives where you've kind of been in that energy, where you've kind of mastered it. And the North Node is the opposite. It's like it's the metaphoric mountain never climbed in past life, right? It's where it's kind of like linked to destiny, if you want to use that word, like where you're really trying to get to. So if you stay, it's very easy for people to stay stuck in their South Node, but when they move towards their North Node, they feel like they're kind of going in the right direction. Now, to have Pluto with your North Node is crazy, because Pluto is ultimately like where your biggest darkness is, but also where your your greatest potential for like real soul growth is. So to have them both in the 2nd house in Libra is giving me the idea that, let's see, it's giving me the idea that you in this lifetime are someone who, or in past lifetimes, you tended towards being very I can go back to my normal. So there's a tendency towards being like very like Aries, which is like the very fiery, like very like kind of all about me, but not necessarily like in a bad in like that negative connotation, but very very adventurous, very like not really willing to compromise. So in this life, a North Node in Libra, like you're here to learn cooperation and compromise, right? Because there can be a tendency to kind of want your own way and only that way, and force that on your opinion, and force that on other people, right? So there's a need in this life to develop that Libra selflessness, right? Um, so yeah, like really like feeling into to kind of the needs of other people, and yeah, Libra is a sign of relationships, right? So that's one part of it. So with your moon in the 7th house, there's no randomness in astrology. It's God's language, right? So it's basically like your relationships will be very, very faded, but they're here to push you towards that North Node. Now, I want to see, was there something in this? Because it's a rare thing. Was there something in here about that? Pluto conjunct. Yeah, I found it. Wow. Okay. So here's what it says when it says Pluto conjunct the North Node. Pluto conjunct the North Node indicates that in a recent prior life, the individual began to commit to the evolutionary intention symbolized by the North Node of the Moon. The intention is then to continue to develop through the evolutionary gateway of the North Node. This is the, in bold, only time in analyzing the evolutionary axis that the polarity point of Pluto is ignored. Interesting. Don't worry about what that means. But it's basically like where you would ignore the opposite part. This is because the north of the moon has become the polarity point of Pluto, as its development has propelled the individual forward in their evolution, and the crux of the chart is to continue this journey. So this does not mean that with planets squaring the middle axis, skip steps or planets, blah, blah, blah. The other parts of the chart do not reflect the need to re-enter the past in order to heal, but it does point towards the resolution of the chart lying in an ongoing development of all that is symbolized by the North Node, the moon, and its ruler. So basically, in human terms, Venus rules the North Node. Venus is about femininity. It's about got my phone open. It's about it's kind of you can link it more kind of to compromise a little bit. So basically, this is something that you've been working on in recent lifetimes, as it was just said, right? And it's not easy, right? Because Aries is like the Viking, like the warrior, and they want to do things their own way, and they don't want to just like especially with the fifth house part of you, like that in the Pisces moon, there's so much creativity that's like, I don't want to like give up my independence for something for like for I don't want to compromise. Screw that. But yeah, there's a need to really hear other people's opinions, to kind of learn to be very diplomatic, to be very like weighing out different, really seeing other people's perspectives, all that stuff. And it's really about balance and trying to find very, very peaceful relationships. So now the fact that the North Node's in the second house, that's about personal values, but it's also about money. So basically, the North Node in the second house is with Pluto there. Maybe I'll start with Pluto. So Pluto in the second house, there is past life memories of poverty. Now, I have seen this so much, especially in the charts of people who don't like my own family, who don't like look at astrology or whatever, and I just look at their charts and like, wow. But Pluto in the second house can create a absolute workaholic, because they can even become like extremely wealthy, but still feel that it's not enough, because there's past life memories of being extremely poor, and because of that, their development, right? Their psychological development was sidelined. Like look at a homeless person who's struggling. They're just they're not thinking about like their mental health. They're thinking about how they're gonna get their next meal. So Pluto in the second house, like it challenges you to explore the link between, because it does make possessions and money, typically it makes possessions and money kind of undergo upheavals. So it's about exploring the link between your changing inner values and your change in the change in your external circumstances, right? Now the key is to trust the universe, and to understand that like to understand that like I have so many examples, like people who are millionaires who are afraid to who are still buying food from like just the cheapest places, and afraid to like spend any money, and it's the soul, so it's really important to to assess, the assessment of inner values, which is what the second house is about. Like, so you have like almost like a moral code for yourself, um, and you live your life based off of that, right? Inner values, so where you're not like inner self-worth, so you're not depending on other people. So also it can happen that I want to say this. Yeah, like it's really, like I was saying, it's about creating your own value system, right? Because like there's a tendency to look to others to find out what they find valuable. So it's really about individualization, or yeah, individualization in that sense. Like what's important to you, but you know. Um, and you can be very vulnerable to the opinion of other people, which is like the moon in Pisces. That's why you need to like the environment and the people you surround yourself with is so important, because you'll be affected. You're a sponge for energy. So doing things like meditation and yoga or whatever it is, that like mantras, the deeper you dive into like things that can help you gain more awareness and protect yourself spiritually, the better, right? Um, so yeah, it's really about like not relying on others and relying on yourself. Also, eighth house south node could be traumatic past life experiences, right? Um, so it can be difficult to leave your comfort zone, right? So it's really like another thing. It's like finding the strength, and you'll know what I'm talking about, like different events in your life, different times, where you have to kind of, I guess, yeah, move away from that way of being, um, and yeah, leave the comfort zone and just like take risks that feel uncomfortable. Um, so aside from that, some people, there's a lot of sexual power with eighth house south node. And there could be like, these are all potentials, right? There could be like using sexuality, like a karmic tendency to use sexuality to kind of get what they want. So it's really about finding your self-worth. That's at the end of the day what it is, right? Um, so um, recreating yourself, rising like a phoenix, and yeah, like really like, and from that you gain that real self-confidence, that then you're not relying so much, like, yes, like wealth and possessions, those are important to you. You're a Capricorn, like I'm validating that, right? But it's about the balance. Like I also love luxury, I love nice things, right? But it's just about not being too like on one side. Okay, that's understood. That's understood. Also, and I know nothing about your financial situation. I literally know nothing about you, but it's almost like you'd be destined in some way, um, through hard work. Also, you know, through karmic, not luck, just through karma, to have money. And once that is acquired, it's about, okay, now what do I do with that? It's a big responsibility, but it's like not working yourself to the ground, realizing that money is just an energy, you know, and what really matters is purpose. What really matters is learning. Um, in your case, excuse me, learning compromise. So, yeah. So aside from that, I love a lot of parts of your chart that I haven't spoken about yet. So much creativity. Moon, sextile Venus is beautiful. Um, it just it's just like it just creates like a very charming person, and someone who's able to really see the beauty um in 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 everyday life, and especially in their partners, right? But there's like a big need to yeah, just because a very like kind of like yeah, it's like another part of your chart that gives like a very charming, adorable kind of almost like Leo nature, like very gregarious, fun loving, all that. So like you have a lot of stuff that kind of push away some of that like cold Capricornian energy, right? Um, someone who can really win people over with their charm and beauty, um, and share their emotions with like like a real openness, and in a way that's very non-threatening, and um, yeah, like it's really nice, really really good. Anything nice to the moon. And then you have Uranus trine your moon. So that's really nice too, because that makes you, and it's a very close one, that would make someone a very unique, like very, very unique and like individual, very like forward thinking. Where and I've so many people I know with this, like it's like they are the ones like I don't know of their friend group who has like maybe they're interested in astrology or whatever, but it's not like people kind of come to them and like it's not like people aren't really offended by it. Like people aren't like seeing them in the negative light because of it, right? So you can enjoy like the freedom of expressing yourself in like a very unconventional way, but then yeah, not have like kind of the negative that would come from like a square, right? And it can just make you, like I said, when you have your alone time, which you need, like, and you can meditate, ground yourself. It's like antennas. Uranus is antennas. Just know it's like claircognizance potential, just knowing things, right? Things just come to you, but you have to be able to quiet the mind. And as a Virgo ascendant, Mercury rules your chart, and that can be a challenge, right? Because your Mercury is in um 29 degrees Sagittarius. Wow. So Mercury is your brain. It's the kind of cognition, blah blah blah. It's that function. So to have it at 29 degrees Sagittarius, 29 degrees is a critical degree. It's an anorectory. Um, basically, like, you know, it's all about knowledge that expands your worldview. Like it's the born philosopher, and because it's 29 degrees, it's like the final mission in this test per se, right? Um, Now you have to watch out for not being too like what I know is for sure the truth. Some people have that. Um, so hold on, my food updated me. 10 minutes. Okay. So yeah, like freedom of speech will matter to you, freedom of your own self-expression, but it's important to not be dogmatic, and to not like push your philosophies and your views on other people. And trust me, I'm a Sag moon, and they're done that. Doesn't work. And wow, your Ceres is conjunct my moon. That's beautiful. That means that my natural, uh, just who I am, my moon, 21 degree Sag, um, like there's a sense of like nurturance that my message has to you. And if you knew me, then it like I would feel very, very heard and understood by you. That's very cool. I love to see like aspects of that. Hi, Mika. So Mika, no, right now. So yeah, like with series, well, I'll get into that later. But yeah, so like with a 29 degree Mercury, yeah, it's just like watch out for um like another part of it is like there can be like decision making problems, jumping into situations blindly, but you know, karmically it's like you've reached like a maturation point with that type of, with that energy. Um so there's like lots of challenges that come to transcend this, right? Um because it's the most mature, it's like your soul planet, right? It's the most mature and natural kind of energy in your chart, and it's your chart ruler because Virgo is your ascendant, and it's ruled by Mercury, and your Mercury is in Sagittarius. Um, so you're definitely gifted when it comes to communication and just very intelligent in general. Now, on that point, you have Uranus in the third house. So Uranus in the third house and Vesta, in it creates someone who has a very they think differently. They're very ahead of their time. I see this in very many parts of your chart, right? They can be very inventive. They can Writing can be something that comes very easily to them. And um, they you're just able to yeah, just very like original thinker and someone who studies unusual subjects. Yeah. Um, and third house is siblings too. So a lot of times there can be like kind of unusual relationships with the siblings, could be step siblings, stuff like that. Very, yeah. Um, Neighbors also. So I think that the third house, I probably have a post about this somewhere. I do. Third house Uranus, it could be, it's kind of like a genius energy in a sense, right? So you're clearly very intelligent. I've seen this in many areas. Um, and you have this intuitive intelligence as well with your moon and Pisces, but it's about learning to listen to that. Because a lot of people will not do that. So you have 29 degrees. You have Saturn 29 degrees Leo on Regulus, which is, I have a tattoo of it because I have my ascendant on Regulus. So you have your Saturn. Wow, interesting. And my mom has her Pluto there. That's crazy. And you're born at night. So Saturn is in the 12th, but in a night chart, Venus is best at night and Mars is worse at night, and Saturn at night. A bad Saturn is not as bad during a night in a night chart, and a good Jupiter is not as good during a night chart. But anyways, um, yeah. So Venus. So like with love in general, obviously like lots of fate with the relationships. Um, the moon in Pisces like would need a partner who understands that they're going to be probably back and forth with their moods. Um, Let's see what they call me. You know, that they can kind, yeah, they can kind of swing back and forth, and it's not all rational. Yeah, it's like, so someone that can kind of be that consistent grounding force, I think would be very important. Um, but someone who can acknowledge that real sensitive part to you, because as a Virgo rising, and another thing I didn't really mention is Neptune squares your ascendant, right? And your ascendant's also opposite your moon. So like Neptune, and it's on your IC, right? So what happens there is that the person who has that, they typically like either have like a lot of problems remembering their childhood, like actual, like they literally can't remember it, or they over idealize it or under idealize it. So it's really important to kind of go back and have like a real realistic view of the childhood, um, especially with the square at the moon. But yeah, I've known people who had that, who just like, they're like, I can't remember. Like, I have very few memories of my childhood. But yeah, Neptune square ascendant is another one that causes identity issues, right? Confusion and struggle with identity, right? Like I said, you are a Capricorn, so that does help a lot because that's very solid. And um, but there is still, a lot of this Neptune, like it's like fog, but the fog can be cleared and turned into high, like enlightenment kind of spiritual energy. But it's lots of, you know, um, like extreme sensitivity to kind of like verbal and nonverbal communication. Um, like people who have this like body language and kind of like, like facial expressions, that those kind of things like can be just as important as words, right? Um, so yeah, there can be lots of misunderstandings, potential for like for like escapism through drugs, alcohol, whatever. So yeah. Um, and also I think that what can happen is that you can get projected on a lot. Um, right? So what can get really difficult with people who have this is that like they can start to become how other people see them, but people only see them as a projection of themselves, right? So it can kind of weaken their self-image and add confusion. So that's why, going full circle, that second house north node of really defining who you are and having that groundedness is so key, right? Um, so yeah. Um, it's really important to learn to trust yourself and really work hard to kind of develop a positive self image. And yeah, like it's like, you be proud to take a stand for what you really believe in. Even if it's unpopular, you know, you gotta be authentic. You gotta be you. Um, so and then with moon opposite ascendant, right? Because your moon is right on the descendant. Um, it can make someone, yeah, it kind of goes with what I've been saying, like a deep need to be wanted. Um, and it's known as moon setting, right? So I've already pretty much talked about this, right? Mika, or has been, so, you know, like there's a heavy emphasis on emotions. That can be it can be quite draining. Um, yes, man. So yeah, it's another one that relates to insecurity and self-worth, right? And what a lot of people can do, yeah, is that they try to find God within partners. Um, but people who have this, they tend to have a lot of love and support in their family. Um, but like there are some bad aspects. So like there could have been like a rocky relationship with the mother, but it's not like extreme. Um, but another potential is like becoming way too dependent on others for your emotional security and support, right? So like basically like as I was saying earlier, your relationship with your mother is extremely important, right? And extremely important. Like the level as a very sensitive Pisces moon baby with the square Neptune, it's like the level of love and care you're given as a child is more important for you than it is for other for nearly anyone, right? It has a great deal of influence over the kinds of people um that or I guess like over like how your relationships end up later in life, right? Romantic and partnerships of any sort, right? Um, because what can happen, if the mother was closed off or distant or not supportive, uh, um, they can sometimes unconsciously seek like an older partner who can almost like play that role, that nurturing role, like their mother didn't. But then if their mother was supportive, um, you know, it's it can be different, right? It's the opposite. It's like it's not like that energy won't be there. But sometimes with they in that position, they might be the ones who will want to play the mother role. You see? Um, so yeah, but like if there's like like the ideal kind of like maternal figure in your life that made you feel safe, secure, all that, um, that just makes someone like very loving, nurturing, a very supportive partner. Um, Obviously there will be that deep need to be wanted and that mothering instinct. Um, but yeah. So besides that, yeah, I mean, it always goes back to the self-worth thing, right? Um, I've seen it time and time again. My food's about to be here, so yeah, you'll get it. But maybe I'll just go move my computer downstairs as I wait. Um, so yeah, like basically like there's like the potential for like I was saying like over emphasis with the relationship where they lose their identity to the relationship, right? And this leads me to what I was gonna talk about, or another like one of the big ones, which is Venus square Pluto, which I have. So that is very difficult. Um, your Venus in Capricorn, which by the way I should probably speak about a little bit about Venus and Capricorn. They tend to not like meet their main partners until after 30, after the Saturn return. They're quite shy in relationships. They want things that last, that are going to stand the test of time. Um, and but like their relationships will be very enduring, right? So, Esme, don't say that. But yeah, they want very solid, very committed relationships. And it also makes one very responsible. See, red all over my apartment. Very responsible in relationships. So the square of Pluto is very difficult, but and then you have Mars and Leo. Let's see where this guy's at. Hold up. Not here yet. I know close by. He hasn't called me yet. Okay. Whatever. I'll just wait. Um, so yeah, basically like Venus square Pluto can create an energy where the person comes on way too strong. Um, and until they learn a certain level of self-love, they will. I know he's calling me now, but I don't see it because my phone doesn't see the calls until after they're missed. So fun. I can tell that someone's trying to call me right now. Good. It worked. Wow. Voy a entrar en corte hasta this. Okay. Okay. Success. Um, yeah. So basically, Venus square Pluto, people who have that tend to basically like it's through, especially early in life, like it gets better with age. Um, really, one second. So I'm in everything. So thank you. So yeah, Venus square Pluto is really challenging when, especially when young, because um, what happens is that Venus is self-love and Pluto is dark. So until someone learns true self-love, true, you know, like really valuing themselves, they will go for very dark partners. Um, and yeah, like they meet kind of their personal darkness within relationships. That's the way I can put it. Um, but then when they kind of gain that awareness and they gain that respect for the self, which I imagine for you with all this Neptune, Pisces like, slash Neptune would be difficult. And I'm hearing myself weirdly. Let me test my audio. Test. Okay, it's not. That's so weird. Why is it not coming through my headphones? Not connected? Okay. See if it works. I think it's down. Okay, now it sounds like it works. Test mic. Hello. Test. Test. Test, 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 test. Okay, we're good. So yeah, that's a tough one. But you get past it through just through self love and through, but like yeah, a lot of people with that, like they come on way too strong. They throw everything. Um, like they have difficulty curbing their desires and relationships, and then it comes down. What it comes down to is it comes down to a fear of abandonment, a fear of wait, what? Hold on one second. One second. All right, I am back. Had some important news, but anyways, good news. So yeah, there's a big need for like the Venus and Pluto, yeah, for moderation and overall, in the end, it can become an energy that's very positive, where the individual, once they value themselves, they understand that they don't need to fear this like that by themselves they'll be okay. They don't need to control other people, right? um that's when everything goes away. That's when everything becomes smoother, because now the fear of abandonment, which is the underlying issue there, is no longer at play. So with your 12th house, very interesting. You have Mars and Leo there in the 12th. That's very, very unique. Basically Mars and Leo, there's a strong need to express your personal creativity. It can be a little bit dramatic at times, but really it's like Mars and Leo people, they're assertive, they know how to get the job done. But the thing in the 12th house is that there can be that the 12th house is about endings, right? So it can be like our hidden strengths and weaknesses. And it's very linked to to karma, the collective unconscious, and having your Mars and Saturn there, two malefics there. um it can feel like you know the it can feel sometimes as though your personal power is eroded in some sense. And with Saturn there too, it can create all kinds of fears, right? Of like just like fear of the dark, right? Like fears like that, right? Kind of just like fear of anything that's hidden, because usually people who have that, it's like their own boundaries have been threatened in some type of way. So when it goes back to your Chiron in Taurus, that speaks to that exact thing, right? Chiron Taurus, it's like there's pain around, um, it goes, yeah, there's a crisis of values, right? Which goes back to your second house North Node. And a lot of people with that early on, they have like a less, self-worth, which they sometimes will try to overcompensate for by acquiring money, possessions, all that. So doing things like yoga are really important. Anything that gets you to trust and love your body more. Um, and a lot of times it comes from being like rejected for. My mom just texting out of everyone. Okay. So Chiron ninth house could be someone who feels who early on, yeah, their own belief system, what, like their philosophies on life were a lot different than maybe like their what was expected of them, and that they faced a lot of wounds around that, around their beliefs, right? That's kind of what I usually see with that. So as we continue down, we see that, like I was saying earlier, series in Sag, you feel nurtured, and you nurtured by wisdom and by growth and by traveling, right? Like there's a need to expand yourself in that sense. It's very, very important. Um, so yeah, that's how I see it. Conjunct Mercury, you want to be someone who can, you love to be a teacher. You love to teach people things that can be transformational for them. Um, but also it's about space and freedom. So you feel loved for and cared for when you're given that within relationships, right? Or friendships or anything. And you're very good at doing that for other people. And also Sag is about adventure. So it's like you're very good when at like you feel nurtured when you are able to go and travel to different places and adventure and see different cultures and be exposed to different philosophies, all that stuff, right? So yeah, and then fourth house series, it's just like, yeah, the family is super important, right? Just like caring for the family, the role as a parent, it's just so important, right? It nurtures you so much to do that. I don't know. I'm imagining your mother. Um, so then you have Palace also in Sag. So that's a very strong Palace placement. Um, Let me see if it's doing anything. Hmm, where is it? Okay. So yeah, having Pallas in Sag, Pallas is kind of like, it's like your third eye. It's an asteroid. So it's not as important as like Mercury or anything like that, but it allows you to really see the big picture. It allows you to see the big picture, everything that's going on. And really makes one like very philosophical in terms of like their discussions and a defender of truth, right? So it's very important. So yeah. um and Palace in the fourth, hmm that's interesting. I would say that it would almost be like your family and home environment could be like a muse for your own creativity, especially with the Neptune there too, like yeah. um and then also like a lot of wisdom comes like you don't have to really search for it. It's like it's within you, as a Pisces moon, you're the inner mystic, right? It's internal. You don't have to search so deeply for it. um and yeah, so what was I looking for? Yeah. And of course, like I already said that your everything love related will be very faded. Well, yeah, your nodes are in trine to Venus, which is actually very good. Um, because it means that there's going to be some positivity um there. Wait, I mean, I meant to say I meant to say the trine is with Mars, but still, even with Venus, there's a square. It's still an aspect. Hey, Mika. Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's that. What else can I say about the palace? Yeah, just like a lot of creativity can come through in your own kind of the comforts of your own home, pretty much, right? Vesta with Neptune, you'd enjoy, you would enjoy very spiritual work, work that puts you in touch with compassion, or with Uranus, I mean, work that uses that inventiveness that I talked about before, right? Vesta in the third, it makes you very good at communicating the truth, um, and really good at helping others see things clearly, right? So, yeah. And in Scorpio, it makes one really, really committed to their work and dedicated to like whatever it is that they choose to do. They want to dive deep into it, right? Um, so really important, yeah, having a 29-degree Saturn in the 12th house is like literally in Leo is just crazy. Um, because basically a 29-degree Saturn is the ultimate planet of karma. And 29 degrees is the last degree I've talked about before with your Mercury. So, you know, this is about soul, your soul maturing and the need to let go. And it's in Leo, it's on Regulus, right? On one of the most powerful stars. But it just like amplifies the importance of kind of how you handle your responsibilities in this lifetime, right? Your sense of discipline, authority, all that stuff. But like I said, there will be all those struggles I talked about earlier, which is usually early on in life. Um, all those restrictions. Um, and the 12th house, it's super karmic. It's very, very karmic. It's out of beyond your control. So when you have a 12th house, Saturn, like my girlfriend, she has it. Um, there can be issues with the father, but the big thing is that you learn to have a sense of humor about life, right? You learn to not take things so, um, you know, so seriously, like it is what it is kind of energy, right? And basically, people can struggle with that, people can struggle with that big time, and yeah, it's just like really, really looking at your fears. And what really helps is like a serious examination of the hidden realm, right? Like this would be one of them, psychology, anything like that. And that's why a lot of people who do things like I do, or psychologists, or who are interested in the metaphysical side of the world, they have Saturn in the 12th, maybe even the 8th. The ninth is big. You know, houses where that are kind of linked to knowledge, linked to whether it's inner or outer knowledge, like wanting to go deeper with things. So yeah. But Mars in the 12th, I think there can be like some self-sabotaging. It's square Chiron, so um, you know, there can be difficulty with being assertive, though it is in Leo, and finding that kind of that real authority within. Um, Sometimes people who have that, they feel that they fear their own anger, or they fear that like whatever their assertiveness will be met with anger, right? um a lot of times there's like the person that has like a short fuse that can be quite easily hurt too, I've noticed. Um so yeah, it comes from just like developing that strong self-worth, right? And honoring your kind of second house north node way of doing things. So yeah, like really, like I need to like reassess your personal desires is highlighted. Um, Mars and Leo can be quite dramatic. So 12th house in retrograde too. So that means that like in past lives you overacted, you overdid the Mars archetype of action. So in this life, um it's meant to be more kind of introverted, right? In this like Mars retrograde natal, which is very rare. Only like 8% of the population has it. So you're meant to kind of be more have more of an introverted kind of relationship to Mars, and it kind of, yeah, it shifts like that outward thrust of energy internally, inwardly, um, and a lot of people with that, they'll spend a lot of energy reliving past experiences, um, and they can be, yeah, too much in the past, but like from the karmic perspective, it's like, as a south node in Aries, which is the sign of Mars, of action, you clearly we're someone who, who maybe act a little bit restlessly in this life. You're meant to kind of and the best way with all of this is to be of service, to be of selfless service. And that's your vertex in sixth house is also saying the same thing. Mercury opposite Jupiter, you can just like promise too much. That's how I take that one. You can promise too much, and yeah, kind of like there can be some also, like, yeah, become like fanatical in your viewpoints. So yeah, I think like the big thing is like with the Pluto squares is just like understanding the like really having like integrated your shadow. That's the key. Because if that doesn't happen, then that like that need for control can come out, and that need for power. But once you realize that the real power is within yourself, then that just changes everything. And I've seen countless examples of this, right? Countless. And Pluto trines your midheaven, so Jupiter is in, is with Black and Lilith. So that's kind of like what I haven't discussed. Is your midheaven's your career? So a Gemini midheaven individual, like I was talking about earlier, they can literally go through many different careers in their life. Having Jupiter in the 10th house gives you lots of expansion in your career. Basically, like, you're able to really express the meaning of life through your career slash dharma. It's not really just career, right? And it's a very good, very, very good to have that just for public recognition, or just for success overall, right? So yeah, and then Gemini, it creates someone who, because Jupiter makes everything bigger, there's like a constant need for exchanging information, and it makes like someone who's a very like versatile individual, who is talkative, even though, yeah, like your Virgo, so your Virgo rising part of you is going to make you like very analytical, like very observant, like kind of like really like um maybe over analytical with certain things. But the Jupiter here is gonna um is in Gemini, typically the individual is very, there's no issues with communication, especially the Uranus in the third. It's just that they have to find their own voice and be comfortable with the fact that it might be different. So I haven't spoken about Juno yet. Juno is the last asteroid I haven't talked about of the main four, the big four, and that is like your ideal partner. It's in Capricorn. So in the fifth house, it's really like how you would want someone who at the same time is very, very fun, right? Leo, fifth house, who you can be your inner child, inner weirdo with, but then who also, you can kind of who you can really build with. You really want someone who it's like the foundation of a building. When you build a skyscraper, they spend so or when they build a skyscraper, they spend so long on the foundation, right? So that's how it is for you in relationships with Venus and Juno in Capricorn, right? So a very serious approach to relationships. But then with a need, and the Mars in Leo shows us too, a need to have fun, a need to be able to express yourself, and to almost like unlock your inner child, and not like be with someone that's super, super gloomy and serious. So yeah, big news in my country, big news. Yeah. It's just this guy who literally did nothing, but was imprisoned, falsely imprisoned, and there's like all the evidence, and he was just like, he's finally tonight they let him go, and it was just like the most messed up situation. He's a really famous guy who's revealing like a lot of uncomfortable truth, let's just put it, about the world, about um, politicians, just things that are going to become more and more with the way the astrology is looking at. Like all this is going to get revealed, but they tried. Now he's on house arrest. So, yeah, I'm very, very happy because I'm a big supporter of free speech and a big supporter of anyone who has the balls to go against the system and to yeah, to kind of risk themselves. So, yeah, big deal for me. Huge deal for me. Um, anyways, that's just having more energy to me right now. Um, that's kind of where it is with aspects. I mean, I don't see anything else. Um, is So let's see what stars there are. Oh, well, last thing. Black Moon Lilith, right? So Black Moon Lilith is not a planet. It is a potential. It is you at your worst, right? It's you at your lowest vibe. Um, and you have yours conjunct Jupiter. So that's kind of like witchy energy. Because Jupiter is very positive, but it also makes everything bigger. I've never seen someone Black Moon Lilith conjunct Jupiter. Like I need to like look this up, like see what other people are saying about it. Um, I've never seen that because it's like my thought is like, would it make that potential for that energy? Like I said, it's you at your lowest vibe, right? It only comes out when it has to, or when you're kind of low. Um, like it's like you're each person has a dark side. It's kind of that vibe. So here it says this expands on your Lilith energy since Jupiter is the planet of expansion, but Jupiter is also the happy planet. So you can be a strong defender, but in a pleasant, easy way. You can defend your positions, assert your worth, and know your power, but in a way that isn't threatening others. Jupiter also rules beliefs, so you can be steadfast in them. I'm not happy with that. This one looks good. Here it says, so yeah, Jupiter is growth, traveling, wisdom. Lilith is dark, seductress, blah, blah. When Jupiter conjuncts Lilith, it brings forth a spiritual and fascinating connection. The placement of this aspect in your natal chart suggests a thorough transformation. Jupiter's expansion directly affects Lilith's expansion and turns its darkness into refined consciousness. So that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Black Lilith also influences Jupiter and takes to experiment with the taboos that you might have never experienced before. Your morals become questionable. It also encourages you to dig deep into the religious and philosophical subjects to get your answers to all the questions flashing in your mind for long. So, interesting. You become a daredevil or risk taker in life who does not bother too much about consequences. However, your focus is upon learning from every experience to transform yourself, which, Gemini's about that too. You're a passionate traveler, but remember, not every journey is fun. Sometimes it might bring you hardships and attract bad people towards you. And the way they name this is conscious transformation. The key theme associated with this aspect, the key themes are utilizing your talents for higher learning, connecting the like-minded, connecting with like-minded people, identifying your core issues, and dealing with them in a better way than before. So I like that. That makes sense. So Gemini, Black Moon Lilith, I relate to a fear of rejection. They can be very, very scared of other people's opinions. They want to be accepted and liked by everyone. And they may like reject people before they have the chance to kind of prove themselves. So and they may even like reject themselves, like in kind of that self-sabotaging way, right? Before like, they have that chance. And what it comes down to is that there's a struggle like with defining what your own individuality and tastes are, because the mindset is often focused on what other people think. So it goes back to the question, am I doing this for me or for someone else, right? And yeah, so in the 10th house, it could come out in career. But like I said, it's a witch energy. And with Jupiter, I think it can make it a lot more positive. But I think one other thing with Black Moon Lilith and Gemini is that it could be the potential, like I said before, of trying to talk people around to your way of thinking and not listening enough, like talking, like not having like a fair energy exchange of talking and listening. So yeah, learn like respect other people's opinions and viewpoints, and the fact that everyone arrives at their truth, when they're meant to. So yeah, and then 10th house is just like kind of like potential for like career wise. That does happen, but yeah. Anyways, so that's that. Yeah. So Gemini, Black Moon Lilith. Yeah, just the need to kind of ground and listen and be balanced. And not take more than you give. In 10th house, like, you can be excellent at your job, but not like stepping over other people in order to get to where you want to get. I don't feel intuitively at all like you have that. It's just a potential. Black Moon Lilith in Cancer in the 11th, or part of fortune there, is just basically like, your flow state is, when you're with friends, with like-minded people who you can really relate to on an emotional level, and like also everything related to family, right? Everything related to family, and also like with your deeper self, so yeah, joy comes when you're really nourishing yourself and others, and everything's good with your family. So yeah. Now let's see if there's any big stars. Um, so I'm looking for any stars or asteroids. So yeah, oh yeah, Regulus on Saturn. Have I seen that before? No, I'm not. So Regulus, incredible star, but Saturn, yeah. Um, I don't know what it means, so let's see what the ancients say. Um, just friends among clergy. These are really old definitions. Friends among clergy, so success with spirituality or even law. Wealth gained through speculation, companies and friends, high position, proud of home and families. This is really good. Good health, heart trouble at end of life potentially. Like if you don't take care of yourself. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much that. So Mars has nothing. Ascendant, there's nothing. Oh, there's one. Seer, of course. So you have another. There's three witch. There's three It's Hecate, Circe, and Lilith. So you have both of them. So you have Circe, rising, which is literally about like it's like literally like about herbs, and it's like people who have that, they have this just natural kind of witchiness to them, like they're into this stuff. They get it, they just get it. Um, so that's really cool. Once again, this is another thing that you can believe me if you want, but I had the name Stirche in my head. Before I even like opened this, I was like, oh, I wonder if this will be there. I wasn't like sure about it. I was just like curious. Also, Whiteman Salinas, you have lots of spiritual protection over your, like when you do take those like that deep dives, the underworld, dark nights of the soul, you have lots of spiritual protection there. That's really good. And Galactic Center is very close to your Mercury, so it's like you're able to really, really like dig deep. Um, like I said, all the answers are truly inside you, so you can just meditate and journal and just whatever comes to you. So one moment. So let's see, anything down there? Nope. But yeah, like Galactic Center is just super spiritual, so the mind will be very, very like able to kind of just get downloads from wherever. Like you don't know why or how you know this, but you just do. And it's about just trusting that. Okay, 17. Okay, it's not close enough to matter. The moon, nothing on the moon. Mhm. Nothing there. Midheaven, right? You're like staring at my computer because I have so many asteroids that are so like close together. Oh yeah, you have with Jupiter, is that Betelgeuse, right? Betelgeuse? Yeah, Betelgeuse on Jupiter, so that's like very good for wealth. Um, Public prominence, wealth. We've seen that, a number of times. I'm really going crazy on this reading. This is another super long one. One of my longest. Um, so, as we know, as we start, bad timing, bro. I'm trying to see. I think it's 1614. Yeah, it's kind of out of range. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Um, so let me know. I highly, highly suggest doing the follow up with the current astrology slash spiritual alignment. We'll do it on we would do it on Zoom. We would set a date and time that would work for both of us in the next my next available time basically. Or, once you feel, some people need to like really like kind of take their time with this and to get the full experience, right? So let me know. And yeah, talk soon. It was a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed. Ciao.